Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Exciting times we live in, Andy. Man, big day tomorrow. No basketball.
What's your drink of choice for breakfast tomorrow?
A
sea breeze, a Greyhound, standard bloody.
I'm Bloody Mary usually. I only am into that when I have a little bit of the hangover, and I'm not gonna have hangover tomorrow. So I don't know. I'm probably not gonna drink because I'm gonna be a mess.
There was a good bar local that has a good, like a Bloody Mary bar with shrimp and shit. I like that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Your breakfast.
What did you think of the seltzer poll, by the way? I was a little surprised at how high Polar scored. But also nominate the signature select club soda. This is the working man seltzer right here. Calorie free, sweetener free. Love it, or it's on us. That is the signature select guarantee. Don't know why we have that in my household right now, but that's what I'm drinking.
I'm pretty Topo Chico'd right now.
Topo Chico.
They've had the bottles at the local grocery store, and sometimes they don't. So I've been buying that a lot. Although I did introduce my daughter to Shasta, if anyone is familiar. I know maybe this is more Faygo territory. I know that's more of a Michigan thing, but Shasta was a soda that apparently I found it at Menards, of all places. She wanted to get soda. I'm like, yeah, we'll grab some here. It's like $4 for a 18 pack or whatever it was, because it's just dirt cheap. I used to buy Shasta in the grocery store growing up, and they had it sitting there in the front, warm. Like this was on the shelf, singles, but it was 14 cents for a can of pop. Like you'd be paying with fucking pennies because you're like 7-8 years old riding your bike around. But Shasta, not a good soda. Still Topo Chico #1 in the seltzer poll for me. And yes, it was
can't believe you support the foreign invaders, man. That's crazy. All right, well, in more serious news, let's talk about Week 9, which is one game away from being done. I don't know that we really learned that much. The
couple
Lions
teams learned enough to fire some people.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we did.
Let's touch on those
close
when we
the
get
chapter
to the game.
on the Dennis Allen era, which is going to come up pretty quickly. I guess general thought on Thursday, the Jets were extremely lucky to get the win, but the Texans played very poorly in that game. Texans will be welcoming back Nico Collins, who certainly will matter. They did not look like a dynamic offense at all. And the Jets live to fight another week, but
so I did want to give the Jets pass rush credit.
Sure, I support that.
The interior push, and they lost another left guard during that game. Kenyon Green went out, so they were beat up front, and they've had issues here and there, but it's always been, hey, the Texans' offensive line isn't very good, but it hasn't mattered because fuck it, Nico's down there somewhere. It does matter when he's not available, when Stephon Diggs is not available, when they suffer a couple more injuries, and the Jets pass rush suddenly gets its shit together. That was something I was not expecting. I even wrote about that. I said, it's a bad offensive line, a bad pass rush. He'll probably still have time. It's weakness on weakness. And Jets defensive line really showed up in the second half. That was impressive. They still have runway to make the playoffs.
Yeah, we did learn though. Moses Malone. No, what's Moses's? What's his surname?
CJ Mosley.
No, the offensive lineman for the Jets is playing with a fracture and a torn MCL.
Yeah.
Forget his name.
Morgan
Moses. Thank you. Jesus. Wow. All right. Did Will Anderson get hurt in that game too? He was on the sideline getting treatment a couple times, and he wasn't really very impactful.
I think he I don't know. I haven't seen the Wednesday reports on Houston. I thought he was fine. My main one was that Kenyon Green being ruled out, the guard who was filling in. And then for the Jets, Michael Carter left with a back injury, and they've had some issues in the secondary already with some injuries. John Simpson, their left guard, left, and also Jake Hansen left with a hamstring injury. So Jets are a little banged up front, And yeah, Houston, very unimpressive. But, I mean, he had people in his lap all night. It was hard to get it done.
Yep. Right. Sunday, we start with the Patriots Titans. Woo. Game went to OT. Patriots did not have the gumption, the intestinal fortitude to go for two. They instead trusted their defense to make a stop in overtime, which they did not. The Titans got bet, closed 3.5, did not cover. The total was bet down to 38 and barely snuck under. No real takeaways from this game except Drake May was your quarterback.
Drake May kind of seems decent.
Yeah, like he's functional.
Like he it's just such a shit show around him. It's hard to tell, but it feels like there's something there that could be developed. It's weird because I left that game feeling better about like Drake May, but at the same time they probably didn't deserve a cover. That was such a ridiculous. He got sacked like 5 times in that last play. He throws up a prayer. My wife saw that play. She's like, "Did he just like close his eyes and throw it?" I said, "Well, it's better than not throwing it. A sack, the game is over. On that, the worst. What's a pick six? It's the same difference, as far as losing. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a ridiculous play. The Titans probably deserved the cover there. And yeah, I guess another win for a bad team. One of those bad teams was going to get a win in this one.
I don't know about the Titans deserving a cover. They had 3 fumbles and didn't lose any. That's a little fluky.
It just felt like their defense played well enough, and they probably should have scored a little more in that second half. They had bad news though too in the center department. Stop me if you've heard this one. It was Lloyd Cushenberry. Achilles, done. IR.
Done.
Quadre Diggs, safety. IR, ankle. Jeffrey Simmons banged up as well. That was kind of a Pyrrhic victory for them.
I guess I do want to shout out Jaquan Jackson, who had 1 catch and 1 carry and fumbled twice.
It's not good.
That's an anomaly. Nice job, buddy. Go get him. Better luck next week. All right. Chargers Browns was a fun one. The advanced models did not really support this blowout for the Chargers, despite I didn't really ever think this was in doubt. Everyone who bet the Jameis Winston int prop did not have to wait long. He ended the day with 3 interceptions. It was an unspectacular offensive performance, an uneasy and uneven offensive performance from the Chargers, led largely by a couple of explosive plays that don't seem entirely repeatable. But the unit that really shined in this one, and it again goes against everything I see and everything I'm trying to read through between the lines here, but this Chargers defense continues to perform very well, and I don't get it. Good job, Chargies.
Yeah, it was weird. It was discussed in the Discord earlier, and if you subscribe to Kevin Cole's newsletter, he actually had his adjusted score was Browns 17, Chargers 16. And a lot of that was Herbert does this. Herbert has a bunch of meh plays, and they're not like horrific. It's not like, oh, he fumbled for a pick or he threw a pick 6, he strip sack. It's unsuccessful first down pass, unsuccessful second down pass, and then long broken play. It's not. I mean, they aren't like. It's not like super low probability stuff, but it was broken plays that got him there. He took some sacks. He had a weird stat line. Like as good as he looked. On the big plays, he was negative EPA. Just barely. But honestly, the Browns were more efficient for chunks of that game, but Jameis is good at Jameis. And that's why it's so hard to even take the Browns seriously as a teaser line sometimes. It's very difficult to get behind him because he's going to, move the ball, efficient pick. Like that stuff's going to happen, especially against a good defense. And this is a very, very good defense.
The Chargers moved up to the likely 5th seed in my projections. I have them getting to just under 11 wins. The playoff number is up to 87%. And your hopes for the Harbowl actually now depend on Houston jumping the Ravens because the likely 4-5 right now would be Houston versus the Chargers. Not much juice.
I don't mind that one either. We will see.
There's not a lot of juice.
We will see the Har Bowl anyway.
Oh yeah,
it is.
That's on Thanksgiving.
I guess. According to Beat Gamer 99, he's never lied to me.
He's
before.
very plugged into the Ravens, so I believe it.
That'll be fun because that's another one. We saw that this week where it's like, hey, what if we take a really good defense from the AFC West and put them against the most efficient offense in the league?
It's the Monday night game, November 25th. That's the Monday before Thanksgiving.
That's a good standalone, though, either way. That's a fun game.
Yeah,
not a lot of takeaways. DeJuan Jones was hurt, offensive lineman. It's kind of a recurring theme for the Browns. I think the only bad one for the Chargers, Junior Colson left, didn't return, linebacker. Keep an eye on him this week.
Market was kind of funny in that Chargers game, by the way. They Browns got supported all week, and then right into the close, it was just one-way Chargers. Did you see that?
Yeah, that game day money is usually the sign of a bad bet.
Well, on sides it has been kind of hit or miss, but on totals it's been absolute kiss of death. Horrible. It's been the kiss of death. Yeah. Saints Panthers. Speaking of kiss of death, you lose to the Panthers, you done. And that is the Dennis Allen. That is the final chapter.
Yes. Who did the Jets lose to right before they fired Saleh? Was it Jags in London?
No, it was the Bills game.
Maybe it was the Bills game. I was trying to think of like if it was the double.
It might have. Oh no, it was on. No, it was the Vikings because it was in London where Woody Johnson saw Saleh with the Lebanon pin and got all freaked out and was like, "Get out!"
Yeah, I forgot it was the Vikings game.
It was the Vikings. Yeah. You thought there was potentially a serial killer Panthers.
The 95 expansion teams.
Yeah.
Panthers and Jaguars always stick together in my mind. Like, that was such an exciting year for me. I'm like, you can just add teams to the NFL.
Yeah. And they're teal and they're sky blue. Like,
go look up the old Jaguars logo. They just ripped it off from the car. Like, they got in trouble for that immediately. Hey, you guys got to change your logo.
Saints.
Takeaways from that one is the Saints were hurt. And their coach was a huge, huge, huge pussy. Like, you have to go for that fourth down. You're playing the shittiest team in the league. You have a 5-point lead. You have a couple of guys who probably get that first down if you just run off guard. Give it to Taysom Hill. Give it to anybody who has a number in the 20s on their back. Give it to a cornerback. I don't care. To punt that against that team, so embarrassing. I was honestly, I needed the win. I needed the over, so I wanted points. But even if I didn't, I would have been cheering for the Panthers in that spot. And it was a beat-up defense who's missing 2 corners in Lattimore and Kool-Aid, but we set some decent price. Maybe he did just need a timeout. I don't know if he's ever going to be good, but he wasn't terrible. Like, it was mediocre Bryce, man, which is a huge step up from embarrassingly shitty, terrible product shouldn't be on a field Bryce.
He still didn't have positive EPA.
Well, no, I don't think that's within it. He's
still a negative total EPA. I kind of can't believe it. He was minus 0.1 in this game, but watching the film, you're right. There were 2 very, very very huge plays that were drops where he did a nice job. I mean, Bryce Young has 2 positive EPA games in his entire career so far. So yeah, I guess a neutral game is.
I would have taken the under 1.5 if you'd have given me a number.
I think he had 2 last year. One was against the Packers where they scored 30. I don't remember what the other one was.
I remember they had that weird win where they just looked good for 1 week. Because they started the season 0 for whatever, and then they got going, not going for very long. I don't have a lot to say, but I don't think the Panthers I don't think it's repeatable. They have a weird spot. They have to travel to London. The Giants haven't been a favorite for 24 straight games, and now open as a 5-point favorite on a neutral site. I'm not saying I'm betting the Panthers to cover again, but boy, that is an ugly, ugly Germany game. and they will definitely. It seems like Olave is probably going to be out, taken off in the car. Third concussion of the year. He got absolutely sandwiched. That was a brutal hit. And they lost their center, as is in vogue right now. Lucas Patrick left in the second half of the calf injury.
A calf?
Calf.
No, not an ankle, huh? Weird.
I don't mind. I don't mind the shitty games on at 8:30. Like when you have the really shitty primetime game. Like, this sucks.
The Colts Patriots last year was hilariously bad. Did that one end with that one ended with the fake spike pick by Bailey Zappi, if I remember correctly? Do you remember that play?
I remember the Chiefs going over that. I don't think that game was very good.
The Chiefs Dolphins was pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah, it was like those were good teams.
There was one good play. It was like the strip of Tyreek Hill. That was the winning play for the Chiefs. But no, yeah, I'm remembering this correctly. Bailey Zappi did the fake spike and then threw it into triple coverage. Triple coverage. The whole game was the game was over. That was hilarious. Hopefully some hilarity ensues in this one because I don't have any interest in betting this game. The Dolphins
new head coach will be Dennis.
Oh yeah, Rizzi.
Yeah. Daryl Rizzi, Dennis Rizzi, starts with a D. Rizzi, he was a special teams coordinator. He's been there a while. Apparently, it's usually someone that the team respects. That's all you need to be for an interim. It's like someone who's been there for a few years and the team respects him as a man. And guess what? You're interim. So probably a good fill-in for now. We'll see where this season goes. That was a horrific loss.
Yikes. Yes. I hope he does well and we get more. The Rizzler is the new head coach. I'm
going to start calling that guy the Rizzler. That's fun.
The Rizzler is excellent. Yes. It's just Saints Rizzi. It's Darren Rizzi. Darren Rizzi. He's got a funny looking chin and some funny looking ears, but let's see how he does. The Dolphins and the Bills.
Did you see my conspiracy theory about him?
No.
The Pope installed him. Pope's tweeting about him.
Yes.
The whole special teams group has Italian last names, and suddenly the Pope from Rome is installing new interim head coaches. We'll see how this goes. We'll see what happens. A lot of putting the dots together.
Omerta with here, yeah, interesting.
International Immobiliare. For the fifth time, Drew.
Yeah.
Dolphins and Bills. I'm sorry.
Weird game. Didn't really feel like the Dolphins were in it at times, but then they were very, very in it. Tua ultimately had one of the better days of all quarterbacks against the Bills defense that has typically kept him very much under wraps. I'm not sure what my takeaway here is other than I think in good weather, Tua and the Dolphins offense might be a little bit back. And I think the Dolphins defense is quite bad, and the Bills are now sort of in treading water mode as their regular season is effectively done, and they are in.
They can clinch in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of over.
It's very much over
for anyone else besides Buffalo
one of the
in the East.
Better games from the Miami offense. Probably the best Miami offensive game of the year. I don't know, considering who they're playing. But the defense was just so horrific at stopping Josh Allen when they needed to. And to be fair, Josh Allen did some of his Superman shit, like the stumbling, rumbling, bumbling toss to Quentin Morris, I believe it was. Like some of those things, what are you going to do? You can't stop him. And their defense was, banged up, missing some safeties. The pass rush hasn't been there all year. That's a tough loss, but your chance to win the division is now over in a game that you were in it. You could have won that game if things go a little differently at the end.
Yeah.
The Bills are just getting healthier. Bernard Benford, Amari Cooper, those guys get back and it's fun. We got some fun AFC teams.
Yeah. Bills right now for me, 99.6% to make the playoffs, 98.9% to win the division. The Dolphins dropped to 12.4% to make the playoffs. That was a very, very impactful loss to the bad.
I didn't get an update on Waddle.
Projecting a tie in wins between Jets and Dolphins right now. Yeah,
Waddle was in for that last play where he was dumb and went just straight backwards.
Yeah.
But the play before that, like his ankle looked bad.
It looked like he got really hurt. I'm with you. He wasn't a huge part of. He wasn't a huge factor in this game. Honestly, I don't really get the deployment of Waddle this year at all. I will note the Tua had the second best day of any quarterback, only surpassed by Lamar Jackson in terms of total.
Lamar Jackson was very good. I was surprised he's ahead of Burrow in that spot. The Bills did lose two defensive ends. Dwayne Smoot and Casey Tuhill both left. Smoot ended up getting x-rays on his wrists. Don't have updates on that yet. Tuhill was a knee. Keep an eye on them. They can't afford to lose players off the defense.
Yeah. I still see a gap where the Bills are the third most likely to win the AFC for me, even though they would right now be on track to host the Baltimore Ravens in the 2-3. Based on my projected seeding, I have them third behind the Chiefs and the Ravens in terms of winning the conference. The Dallas Cowboys and the Atlanta Falcons was a fun one. It's closed. It's basically closed -3.5 Falcons. We talked about this game and handicapped it when it was -2.5 and couldn't make sense of it. Bet a lot of it. Overbet it, honestly.
Minute 5.
I was a little nervous because you don't want because the Falcons, and you don't want like just a couple of games to really kind of impact your season to the good or bad. But I'm glad that one was ultimately not really much of a sweat. Brilliant play design by the offensive coaching staff, particularly on the fourth down play that unlocked the touchdown that put them clearly ahead and put the Dallas Cowboys in a terrible spot. And Kirk Cousins played great. The tackling from the Cowboys was awful. The only Cowboy with any juice at all in this game was Overshawn, and he got hurt. Overshawn, it felt like was like in the mix on every key tackle. And I was like, God damn it, play away from Overshawn. But it was a good day to be a Falcon backer, and a bad day to be an over-better, as this stalled out and did not really flirt with the close of 50.
I know the final score and getting to 48 isn't probably indicative of what.
No,
and that was a long, drawn-out prevent defense, Cooper Rush touchdown drive late. CeeDee Lamb with the AC joint sprain says he's going to play. We'll see how that works. Dak is going to miss multiple weeks. Defense is, and it's poor timing because all the defensive players that have been out, Bland and Diggs and Micah Parsons, everyone's getting like super close to getting back and being healthy, and they're going to come back and they're going to find Cooper Rush throwing to, Kevontae Turpin. It's just not going to be. It's not going to be the same offense. Falcons were, like you said, the Falcons were good. Some of the play designs were electric. Kirk Cousins was damn near perfect in my eyes. He took a couple sacks. That's life. With Kirk Cousins, he's not going to be great at sack avoidance. I loved how they used Robinson. I love how Mooney always seems to find a long one.
Yes.
Ray McLeod with a nice touchdown. And then, Bijan even the air. Bijan had 80 on the ground, 50 in the air. Like, he just had a really nice day. That is what you need to do. You drafted him what? They always draft 8th? Is it always 7th or 8th? London was 8th.
Pitts was for London. Pitts was 4th. Bijan was 7th, maybe. And Penix was 8th.
Yeah. Didn't see a lot of him. But, I'd like to see Bijan deployed like this. He's an elite player. Falcons defense was okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that Falcons defense held their own, I thought. That was the unit I was the most kind of, let's see, guys. And they did fine. The only offensive guy with any juice for the Cowboys was probably Rico Dowdell. He was breaking tackles. Him only getting 12 touches was bad. The Cowboys season is effectively over. Not really throwing dirt on them just yet, but do you want to guess what my make the playoffs percent is for Dallas?
mean, it's the NFC, which is actually more competitive.
I guess keep in mind I'm pricing them with no Dak.
No Dak, like 8.
3. I'm down to 3% chance that the Cowboys salvage this thing.
The NFC is sneaky more competitive than the AFC right now for the wild card spots. There's a lot of half decent teams in the middle there.
Mm-hmm.
And
the
Cowboys are probably no longer one of them.
They're not one of them, yeah. All right. The Falcons, on the other hand, have moved to 90.2% to win their division, 93% chance to make the playoffs.
Just goes
they
up
get to start planning their home game, I think. This is happening. Falcons hosting the cross your fingers Vikings. We shall see.
Fun.
Broncos Ravens was a very weird game. Lopsided scoreboard, final score. Didn't really think that the 10 points for the Broncos was reflective of what was.
They should have scored more.
A fine game. Yeah, they weren't good, but it was fine. Bo Nix, 19 of 33 for 223 yards is more than we kind of expected that because you're up against a weak pass funnel, but the mistakes were just backbreaking here, and the high leverage stuff not going their way when they were trying to be in comeback mode was backbreaking here. Bo Nix had the 5th worst quarterback performance of the weekend. Only worse performers were Trevor Lawrence, Desmond Ridder, Caleb Williams, and James Winston. Didn't see much of Desmond Ritter's work. In fact, I didn't even know he played this weekend. What did he had to come in for the Vikings or the Raiders? We'll get to that, I guess, in a second. Any other takeaways for this one? I watched very little of this.
No, I mean the Ravens are just a truck offensively. They got what they wanted. I think we can still say the Broncos are a good defense, but Christ Almighty, what are you going to do when they're able to have the good game? Because Lamar doesn't always have the good game in the air. It's like, well, he's a little off today, and his receivers aren't getting separation, and Bateman's not very good, and it's just not working out. But they're still running the ball, and they're going to win by 8. But when he's feeling it through the air, and Flowers is finding separation, finding himself open deep, finding himself open in the end zone, and they're running the ball, they're going to score 40 points. I don't think it matters who's on the other side of the ball. That was just a tough spot for the Broncos to be in. Let's talk rookie quarterbacks. Throw out JJ, throw out Penix. Just go with the 4 that play. Rank them right now. Not long-term, not who you'd rather have on your team. If you're starting a quarterback next week. Obviously number one, yeah.
Daniels, slight lean May over Caleb, and then 4th would be Nix by a decent gap. Is that wrong?
There's a case to be made that Caleb's 4th.
That he's 4th behind Nix.
He doesn't seem to have awareness. He doesn't seem to have any pocket awareness right now. And if he's up against any pass rush, it's not just taking sacks, it's taking 15-yard sacks. I think in the long run, and just looking at the body of their work, Caleb is a better pure passer. He's a better athlete, but fuck, Caleb was really bad this weekend.
Well, is he a better athlete? Because Bo Nix was pretty dynamic on the touchdown catch, and he is very fast.
He boxed the fuck out. That was probably not a great play. We're like, oh no.
No.
He's in tight coverage. He's not in the end zone.
Great play by Nix to get the ball.
High pointed that shit.
Yeah.
All right, we'll put Caleb 4th just to piss off the Chicago folks.
Yes, I like that. That's fun. That's much more fun. The Raiders weren't very competitive against the Bengals, although they were up at one point. I watched none of this game. I have not rewatched it yet. I don't know if I will rewatch it. Did Minshew get hurt, and that's why we saw so much of Mr. Ridder, or was this a well, let's see what we got.
He got yanked.
And they got nothing. They yanked Minshew for performance?
Yeah, the game was starting to get out of hand. And then they ended up getting a pick 6. Jack Jones on the same one he did last year against the Chargers, where he was in the backfield.
Okay.
But I don't know. It felt like the Raiders were in this game, and then they had the fumbled snap that got squirted out, and a couple of broken third downs. Like it felt like every touchdown for the Bengals was on third down. Although the pick six was kind of rough. But yeah, Minshew fumbling when they were driving. They were on the other side of the field. They were driving to get within a touchdown, looking kind of good. And then we had the fumble. Ritter had a fumble. I mean, it was a comedy of errors. It's the Raiders. What are you going to do? They actually fired their whole offensive coaching unit after this too. So I don't know. It's just it's not like somebody's going to come in and it's the same thing. The Ritter going in for Minshew is a microcosm of what they're doing in coaching. Where it's like, oh, here's something different, and it's no chance this is better. There's no chance this situation is any better. In fact, it's probably worse. They fired the OC, the offensive line coach, one other offensive coach, and there's nobody on staff. Like I looked at it, the most likely choice is Joe Philbin because he's done it.
Oh no!
He's been a head coach. He's been an offensive coordinator. He's done the job. He's older. That's probably your replacement, at least for this year. That's not great. So I mean, nothing is going to improve, and it sucks because they have very fun. Like not only Bowers, I love Jacoby Myers, especially as the one now. He's able to handle that role nicely, and
yeah, you know what I always like in a coach is when they get progressively demoted. From head coach to offensive coordinator.
Has he really done it?
Coach,
I mean,
offensive line,
to
just
coach.
the offensive line, to just a college offensive assistant, offensive analyst, and now he is the senior offensive assistant for the Raiders. That is some career trajectory that is just like, retire, buddy. Like, what is going on here?
I don't know if he's still getting paid. How does Pierce survive? He shouldn't. The only way he survives is they look at the books and they're like, hey, well, it's not going to be a good year anyway. Pierce, you're on for one more try. Knowing like this is last rodeo, unless suddenly he becomes West Coast Belichick.
Joe Philbin, 63 years young.
It's gonna be funny. Like,
are they gonna bring AOC back at some point?
I hope
he's just a short term. I think he's just a short term injury, right? AOC, or is he done for the year?
Maybe. I don't know that it matters. I don't think there's a difference between the two as far as ceiling, floor, or anything. Yeah. March towards Arch. Yep. Start losing games. That would be the plan. They're on bye this week.
And also the what do you call it?
So many injuries too.
Yeah, and they desperately need a young quarterback project. And they honestly, like, we're laughing at the Raiders' expense, but good fucking job. Like, if it's not working, you do not want to give Luke Getsy the keys for a young quarterback, development experiment. Hell fucking no. Like, you can see how it's going, and I think cutting bait sometimes is underappreciated. When organizations do it, and they're easy to laugh at.
I got to thinking about it today, and I ended up writing this down. I said in the offseason, maybe we talked about this, but I think it was my least favorite coaching hire.
The Getsy one, yeah.
Keeping Pierce.
Oh, keeping Pierce, yeah. Oh, yeah.
My least favorite coordinator hire in deciding Getsy was the fit after seeing what he'd put on film, and then my least favorite GM move in taking Telesco.
Yeah, bringing in Telesco, and then worst quarterback decision in signing Gardner Minshew.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, it's probably the worst offensive like quarterback decision as far as like acquisition. Yeah. Like they did the fact that, and it's funny, they're probably going to have a win over the Super Bowl champion Ravens. It's just a ridiculous game. What a silly game we play.
It's quite stupid. All right, no thoughts on the Bengals here other than Joe Burrow's back-ish.
He looked good. He needs Higgins back against better defenses. This is defense.
Short week. Yep. Should thrive. Pass funnel. Short week.
It's a fun game. It's just an over, isn't it?
Probably, yes. I think both teams could flirt with 40. Colts Vikings. out of order. Should we just hold it?
God, that was a stupid game. Let's do it right now. It's such a stupid game.
Very stupid game. I lost 2
Vikings
bets this
drove the
weekend.
field,
One of
drove
them
the
was
field,
the
drove
over
the field.
here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You deserve better. You deserved a better fate on that.
Sam Darnold, I think his top line stats on the box score look fine, but under the hood, it was bad for him. He was your 20th best performing quarterback. The mistakes were brutal. The fumble and the interception were bad. And like, I kind of don't get why Justin Jefferson isn't a cheat code anymore for this offense.
He was in the second half.
He was in the second half, but
he did have like 130 yards. So he leads the league in receiving, and he has one fewer game than like the next 3 people on the list.
Yeah.
He's still very good when you need him. And truthfully, Addison was better. Not yardage or big catches, but like that catch in the end zone, some of the little things he was doing, he was great. And I was excited for Hawkinson. He ended up getting used sparingly, but Oliver's a dog too. That was a really, really nice play call to get Oliver the ball and just say, fuck it, let's win the game. With the time left, what they're going to have to do is let's just go win the game here. I like that. And, it's funny how the trick plays are. If they don't work, got too cute. But if it works, like, that's smart. And I really did like that long third down trick play they ran with the throwback to Jones to get him a 3rd and 15. So a couple of nice play calls by KOC. Kicker was maybe injured. He was really pulling up lame, favoring that leg when he was missing those kicks and even on kickoffs. So maybe that was just something we missed pregame. I don't know if I'd like bought out of an over just because the kicker was a little banged up, although that has fucked me on an over before in the Giants-Washington game early in the season. And yeah, Darnold was good. You got to see the whole spectrum of Darnold. Some really good throws on every touchdown. It was a really good throw, and then he threw an absolutely abhorrent interception. Yeah. And then also he doesn't get calls, so factor that in. You can hit him right in the face and then take the ball away. Let's do it now.
Yes.
Are you gonna give this guy a makeup call now?
Well, the inconsistency of how quarterbacks were protected was really weird over the whole day on Sunday. The Joe Flacco experience I was left wanting. Turns out he can't play especially well when he is being aggressively blitzed. That seems to be the chink in the armor. I don't love it when you have an old quarterback like this who can't really change their stripes, and now the book is out. Blitz him. This upcoming schedule for the Colts looks horrific. I think they are probably going to lose with Flacco under center until they are out of the playoff mix entirely, and then bring Anthony Richardson back for the final 4 games to see if he's matured and learned from his time on the bench, which he probably won't have. My current projection for the Colts is 48% chance to make the playoffs still somehow. I have to check my numbers there. Only 14% chance to win the division. I guess it's because they're not that many, but they lost both games to the Texans. So I don't know how they're making the wild card here, but they're still.
They came out and said we're starting Flacco for the rest of the season, but you for sure go takesies backsies on that. If you're eliminated, there's no reason. Like, even if it's like, hey, we have such a tiny chance to make it. There's 5 games left. Like, just put him out there, see what you got. It's a silly move. It's still a silly move, and it's funny that it didn't work out because Flacco wasn't very good.
Bills, Jets, Lions next 3. 0-3.
You can beat the Jets.
That would be hilarious. If Flacco eliminated the Jets, I would get a lot of personal.
No, I do want to see that.
Okay. Commies, Giants. The commies are for real.
Jaden's good. Robinson out had me a little worried. So I had a commies bet. But they were fine. The defense looked pretty good at times. They almost got backdoored. Had to rely on some 2-point conversion luck, but
the degree to which I've upgraded the commies
better team
compared to the preseason is unreal.
Yeah. Both sides of the ball. I've had to upgrade the defense a little. The pass rush, even with some injuries, the pass rush has been better. The coverage has been pretty fucking good at times. again, relative to expectation, we're expecting this to be, Panthers level bad, and the defense has been better than we thought. They had an offensive line injury. I can't think of the name of the guy that filled in. I'm sure Sam's in the chat and he'll tell me all about him and where the guy was born and what he had for breakfast. But that guy stepped in and played pretty well. The offensive line is a product of Jaden, partially, but they're playing well as on their own as well. And right now, Quinn has done a lot with this defense. Kingsbury obviously learned some lessons in this time in Arizona, and fucking, it's a good team. And the Giants are not. Yeah. They had to come out and say Daniel Jones is our starter. When you have to come out and say that, and your other guy's Drew Lock, it's not good. That's not a good spot to be in. I kind of feel bad for Dable at this point because I think he should keep his job. He's a good coach. He's a good coordinator.
Yeah, 100% agree. And you're not going to do better. You're not doing better.
That's the thing. They're going to fire him and hire somebody that's worse.
Yeah, right. I'm seeing 100% snap count for all the big boys in this game.
No, he hurt coming into the season, coming into the week.
Oh. Was it what was the guy's name? Coleman or something?
Yeah. I gotta find my notes from last week. I can't think of everyone. There's so many offensive linemen that have been hurt. Sam, just tell us this. Like you're in the chat here. He'll get to it. Do you have any thoughts on the Giants? Tyrone Tracy's good. Neighbors is good, but the rest of the team is bad around them, and the offensive line is missing a left tackle.
Yeah, I mean, they're a couple of very important players away from being a very league average team, which makes them substantially below league average. I don't know what else to say. I think they probably are a bet against the Panthers, but we will hold judgment until we see how that market matures. It's just extremely. They're very average on on a good day. They're very average.
Yeah, Dable would be an elite offensive coordinator somewhere.
Culver's, you got to be kidding. You got to be better, Culver's. My God,
Culver's is so good. Culver's is an elite.
Be better.
Burger joint. All right, what's the next game?
Bears Cards. We went from the Bears being a feisty fun. Ooh, maybe they'll make some noise. Ooh, the NFC North is all super good. Ooh, to everybody's getting fired very, very quickly. The body language experts
so fast.
The body language experts have been on the DJ Moore corner, by the way, since like week 2. Like he'll have a couple of plays a game where he goes to this zone part of the bench. He's clearly very unhappy, which is telling you that he does not have any confidence in his quarterback. And the Shane Waldron scheming and sequencing and development all feels fraught. Caleb Williams obviously has a lot of maturing that he needs to do. And his ability to run
the offensive line injuries on top of all that. If you have a bad offensive coordinator with a bad game plan, bad play sequencing,
right,
bad in-game decisions, and a young quarterback who's struggling with pressure, having 5 or 6 offensive line injuries through 8 weeks is probably not a good recipe for you. The defense has played well, but they aren't going to make up for it. It's a game in Arizona where their offense is playing well, their defense is shit. You're not going to win this game scoring 9 points, no touchdowns. You're going to have to go out there and score 24. It had to be a game where the offense showed up, and they did not. They made a team that was dead last in pressure rate get to Caleb. I believe it was like 45% of the time.
50 dropbacks for Caleb in this game.
Yeah.
The useless Arizona Cardinals pass rush generated
dead last in pressure.
23 pressures.
Yeah. 46%.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And this is we're not counting up 3 guys were in on 1 pressure so they get a 3. So this is per drop back.
Per drive.
Unbelievable. Like you can't run offense that way. It was very,
pretty
very bad.
Tough.
The only higher quarterback pressure rate of the week was Mr. Desmond Ritter who was pressured 13 times on 21 dropbacks, which is equal to 62%. But at least he was up against the Bengals. That's not a good sign. Anyway, no, the Caleb experience is really, really, really depressing, I have to tell you, because we want these young quarterbacks to find their footing. But this is lending a lot of credence, I think, to my kind of half-baked hypothesis of the arrested development year and what that does to your quarterback and whether or not you're going to succeed at the NFL. I feel like his arrested development year last year at USC has begot problems. And now you're compounding it with another year with no development. So, I mean, the warning signs are just blaring loud right now that this is not what was expected.
I'm going to feel really bad for Chicago fans if like Caleb does kind of start to flame out and we find, and then May plays well and Nix does well and they've
Daniels
done it
is the
again.
next Lamar Jackson.
Obviously Daniels is very, very talented. Oh man. Okay. I'm done with that game. The running backs for Arizona were great. Kyler was great. The Bears defense was in a bad position, but they played below where I expect them to play as well. They gave up a lot of big plays on the ground.
Yeah, including what was that garbage at the end of that first?
They had given up. That's where I barely watched the second half because it's like, wow, this team has got some quit in them right now because that's not a play you can allow.
Mm-hmm. The quote from DJ Moore after the game, or this was it circulated today? His locker room lost confidence in
not the strongest. Not the strongest.
As the locker room lost confidence in the coach, in Matt Eberflus. Can't say no. That means yes.
Sounding like we've heard some people say he's requested to trade, which I guess he's just bound to be traded all the time. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
I mean, their schedule gets hard
trending down. The Bears are about to play an easy game. They are going to play the oh my God, if he loses to Drake May, I'm going to figure out a way to get Chicago Sports Radio on Monday to listen to that. But after that, they play, and I don't have the order right here, but this is the incorrect order. It is Packers, Lions, Vikings, Niners, Vikings. Those are out of order, but it's those 5 teams. So 4 divisional games and the 49ers, presumably with Christian McCaffrey back. That's the most difficult remaining schedule. Yeah, let's say
it's the hardest schedule remaining.
If you lose against the Patriots, you're talking about like a 1-5 stretch there, possibly 0-6. The season is slipping quickly, and this was a team that we're talking about as a playoff team.
Yeah, if you lose to the Patriots, 4-13 is very much in play. Very much wild. Yeah. I like Milf Hunter's take. Maybe he can be fun bad in like 5 years on the Jets about Caleb Williams. That would be pretty funny. Although Mitch Trubisky never made it to fun bad stage, did he? Not really.
Mitch, I don't know.
He was funnish, baddish on the Steelers.
2018 with Mitch was a lot of fun, I thought.
Okay.
When they were letting him run. Remember when Mitch was allowed to run? That shit was a lot of fun.
Let's move on to Rams Seahawks. This was speaking of fun, this was the most absolutely insane game of the day. It was Rams
Seahawks game.
The Rams won. But at times it felt very much like it was going to slip away. At times it felt very much like they should be up by more. Like it was, my head was in 9 million places over the balance of this contest. And ultimately the Seahawks got fight in them, but they don't have good defenders. That's kind of my takeaway. And they don't have good pass protection.
Yeah, wow. And it stinks because we got Mike McDonald. We've been over this 100 times. He doesn't feel like he has the players right now to do what he wants to do. And I'm perfectly willing to say it took time, and it took time. I mean, Michigan was pretty quick, but it took time everywhere. It does take time to get this together because it feels like he needs a specific set of players to run his kind of defense, and it works.
Yes.
So I'm willing to say, like, all right, this is the year where he figures out what he has, what's in his hand. We discard a few cards. We say, I'll take 3. And next year looks like a lot better poker hand. At the same time, Geno is very hit and miss. And we've said this like time and time again, he makes some really good throws. Apparently only to JSN, who was a monster in this game, but makes some bad throws too. And that you go down to the red zone, 3 straight red zone trips if you count overtime, where you don't not only you don't even attempt a field goal, miss a few. Yeah. It's like bad interception, obviously, the 103-yarder. Another bad interception, and then probably the right decision, but
yeah,
that's a bad play call. It didn't go their way, and you lose the game. And I loved how aggressive McVay had gotten in overtime, knowing how that offense looked for the whole second half, kind of stuck in mud.
Yes.
Said,
it was very atypical for him, which was huge.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why I loved it. Yeah. I loved it even more. It's not. Yeah. I was so worried. I'm like, they're going to go 3 and out here, and I'm going to sweat this for another 20 minutes.
He massively
bang, aggressive, and even the score was very aggressive.
Yeah.
So love that. That bodes well for him. Probably a playoff, honestly.
For those of you watching at home, this win probability chart, flat out awesome. That is that's basically it's basically an earthquake, which is fun because it involved both Seattle and Los Angeles teams, and of course there's earthquake hazard in both places. But when you get that kind of amplification of the freaking whip at the end of a game like that, it's the best. Just an incredible fourth quarter and overtime. JSN breakout was so real. The refs kept this from him getting to 250 yards. The refs stunk.
The refs were bad for both teams. Stunk.
But and what was especially annoying is that you could feel them putting their finger on the scales to try to compensate for their previous fuck ups, and I hate that's like the worst part. That's the worst way to be a bad ref, right? If you're just going to be consistently penalizing, then I'm not here for that. If you're just going to let everything happen, I'm also not really here for that. But if you're making a bad choice and compounding it by trying to make an equal and opposite bad call, then I get very annoyed.
Well, it's like the sitcom trope where the character makes a bad decision, consequences, and to overcome those consequences, which cause him a new problem, he makes another bad decision, and it's funny on TV. But when the ref's doing it, it's not funny at all. It's like
you're ruining a very good game.
You're ruining this game.
Yeah. Speaking of ruining this game, I don't really know what you do if you're the offense coordinator for the Seahawks when you're trying to operate with this this offensive line. It's so weird because Geno Smith's deep ball is just freaking chef's kiss perfect. It is so good. But then a lot of the intermediate stuff, it just doesn't work. And in particular, if he is like immediately under pressure, which was happening a lot, it just devolved the set of downs and caused just inconsistent flow of the offense. And I don't know that it doesn't feel like
the Puka thing was so dumb.
I don't disagree.
It seemed very scattershot with how they treat that. Like him and Branch, I don't think either should have been tossed. Those are 15 yards.
Yeah, agreed.
Those aren't ejections. I don't think we need ejections for stuff that doesn't go over the top like that.
Yeah. Geno Smith, 26 pressures, 44 dropbacks. That's not a misstatement. The Rams, so good the Rams have a good pass rush, but that was surprising. Versus that could already, and just in general, the Rams have like a kind of a funky, nice little D. Their coverage I thought was good, even on the plays where they could not cover JSN. JSN was having a day, and Geno was dialed in on some of those deeper balls. Anyway, I don't really know what to make of this. I kind of come out of that game feeling better about both teams. Is that crazy?
I felt good. I felt good about the offensive game plan for the Seahawks. If Geno doesn't throw all those picks, we're toast.
Yeah.
They moved up and down the field against what I consider a decent defense, who's getting a ton of pressure. Like, I feel good about the offense going forward. Geno is just, I hate to say it, but Geno's Jameis, man.
Yeah.
It's Jameis with a better deep ball.
Did we Did we fuck up and crowning the NFC North as the best division when it's actually the NFC West?
Yeah, now that Caleb sucks and the Packers have an injured quarterback they're going to keep trotting out. Darnold's pumpkining. The Lions are boring. It's just a bad division now. You're right. It is the NFC West.
It was always was.
Oh, and we're about to get McCaffrey back.
I know. It's good.
Rob Havenstein's coming back.
Rob Happens. Talk about moving the needle.
Arizona traded for Baron Browning. It's crazy. The Cardinals being a buyer is such an elite little cherry on top this week. What else we got for games?
We have two more. First is Lions Packers. I disagreed with Kevin Cole that the Browns should have beat the Chargers. I agreed with him that this game was closer than it was, but not enough. I thought the Packers really had the plays in this contest to get the win, but the key plays came from Ben Johnson on fourth down and Dan Campbell going for it on fourth down in this one. And the fact that Dan Campbell knows the games on the schedule where he has to be super aggressive and the times in the games to do the aggressive press the button, that's in and of itself an advantage for the Lions over the rest of the league, it feels like. And Goff was not putrid in the rain, but he wasn't great. And I think they were able to effectively give him a dialed down menu that was good enough to prevent the killer mistakes. And the Packers defense was kind of meh. They couldn't really generate much pressure. The offensive line for the Lions was awesome. The skill position players for the Lions remain awesome. They making killer plays. This kind of felt like you got a C game from the Lions, and the Packers needed to take advantage of it, and they didn't. So
yeah, it wasn't. Goff was very good. I thought he just didn't. It wasn't like a wow, very good. You know what I mean? Or there wasn't like these highlight plays. It was just he was very good in an efficient game where the weather was bad. His opposing quarterback was very much hampered by a groin injury. You could see that when he had to move, it was stiff. It looked bad. I think he knew I can't make big mistakes in this game and we'll win this because this is a road game against one of the better divisional foes we'll face. I can't go do something stupid. And they called the game that way. He played the game that way. And Love ended up making the stupid mistake. Obviously, that pick six was huge. The game probably would have been a lot closer. Yeah, I think it was probably a understated Ben Johnson masterclass. Knowing I have Jared Goff, this motherfucker's going to do something stupid in the rain. I have to call the offense in a certain way to make sure he doesn't do that, and we'll beat the Packers because their defense isn't that good. The pass rush is, struggling. We have a great offensive line. I think we can beat the secondary with the current injuries they had in the secondary, but we don't need to be super aggressive about it. And we'll win the game. And the pick six was a cherry on top because the defense is playing, well enough right now.
Yeah. Okay. That's a fair way to put a bow on it. Yeah. Packers, I think gave the Lions the division with that loss. Good news for them. I still make them pretty high likelihood to get into the playoffs. Actually, I take that back, Andy. My numbers right now only have them at around 50% to make the playoffs. I think it's getting crowded for the 6th and 7th seed.
The NFC is very competitive.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's getting crowded for the 7th seed period. That's kind of the Packers' only way in right now. Right? The Vikings are very much in there 5 or 6, and I think Eagles or Commies are going to be your other 5 or 6. The Eagles and Commies have much easier schedules remaining.
There's one spot for 5 teams.
Eagles have the 29th hardest schedule remaining. Commies have the 23rd hardest schedule remaining. The Vikings, middle of the pack, but it's really not that hard if you dig into it a little more. They're going to be favored in every remaining game probably. I think the Packers are a little bit on playoff life support. Wow.
Crazy.
Didn't realize that. I didn't realize that.
No, and again, I've harped on this for a few weeks, but it's crazy how tight the wild card race in the NFC has gotten, how bad it is in the AFC for some of these teams that, like the Jets are in the 10th spot right now in both leagues are the Jets and the 49ers. Are you seeing what I'm getting at here?
Yes.
So like the Packers currently sit in the 7th, but Bucks, Bears, Niners, Rams, Seahawks, Cowboys are probably dead, but all the way down to the Seahawks, like there's a lot of teams that are right there with them. And, one more loss and suddenly you're down in that fray. They're still 6-3. I think they're still sitting fine. More than likely the Bucks lose tonight. Nobody else is, there's 3, 4, and 4 teams at that point.
Okay. That's reasonable.
All right. What's the last game?
Man, Packers lost their back against the whole game, man. Last one is the Eagles beat the shit out of the Jaguars, but only won by 5. Sorry to all the Eagles backers.
Sirianni is just he's getting too smart for his own good, and then not calling some of the good plays at the right time. The tush push failing twice. The weird fumble with Saquon where I don't know, letter of the law kind of says he's down, but I get the case for, well, he touched someone, but did it really matter in him falling down? There's I guess they have some leeway there and say, no, he just fell down on his own volition. That's a fumble. Trayvon Walker with the ball in his hands is dangerous. That was a nice run back.
Get him some carries.
Again, we've said this for a few weeks. Trevor Lawrence is good now, but the fucking game is falling apart around him. He's losing all his offensive linemen, all his wide receivers. They're sellers. Their coaches still aren't good. So he's kind of in an untenable situation right now. And he was good in the comeback effort. The Eagles are still a sketchy team to bet on.
They sure as shit are, man.
It's crazy. Like they should have won that. It should have been up by 40.
I gotta go rewatch the sequence after the missed field goal because that next drive by the
kicking the field
Jaguars,
goal there, by the way,
kicking the field goal, terrible. Yes, man, nothing. I know this is cliche, but making a 1-score game a 1-score game is it's technically not a 1-score game if it's 8 points, but it is. The Jags got the ball all the way down to the Philly 13 with 1:42 and a 5-point deficit. The fact that you were even remotely in that much distress, considering how aggressively you were beating the shit out of these guys, you're right. It's an indictment on Sirianni, and he didn't pay the price for it, and they're results based in Philly, so he carries on another week.
Such is life.
Yep.
Any thoughts on week 10 before we sit down and watch the Buccaneers take on the Chiefs tonight?
Yeah, the number that really I can't get squared with is Commies being under 3 against the Steelers. You got thoughts there? Commies hosting the Steelers, excuse me.
Steelers off by, right?
Yes.
They were off last week, so they get a little bump. Yeah, I mean that lookahead was like 1.5.
Yeah.
we saw that pop up a little here where I gotta get to week 10. 2.5 now.
Could be a problem for the Pittsburgh defense, I think.
Yeah,
what do you think? Yeah, good.
Man, we've seen teams who can't protect struggle because of obviously Watt is so good and they have some pieces in the secondary. But like we said, Jaden helping that offensive line with his escapability and the play calling of Kingsbury, I make it like 4. So I agree with you there. I bet him last week because it was 4 and I made it 6. So I've been high on Washington relative to the market. What else we got?
San Francisco's getting CMC back. What's the fair number there at Tampa? We don't know really what that market's going to look like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's 6.5 right now on the lookahead. That's probably a fair price. If Tampa Bay gets McMillan back, it's crazy. That's what matters. Getting Jaden McMillan back in that offense.
Mm-hmm. My Cincy Baltimore number is right at 7, so probably not going to have a Thursday play. My Atlanta and New Orleans number is not at 3, but you got a new coach there. Maybe there's a little bit of a an interesting kind of push.
That's a rivalry game. It's in New Orleans. God, I can't get to. I bet Atlanta this week, and I can't get to 3. I don't know if I want to bet New Orleans there. If you're getting a full 3 points at home, we have to see some of the injury news for New Orleans and probably get involved in something like that.
Ooh, I don't like any of the sides that my numbers are saying to get serious about at all. My numbers want me to lay Chicago. They want me to take the Colts.
Mine want me to take the Colts again. I did
way.
That's take the Bears.
My numbers think the needle has moved too far on Dallas. No fucking chance.
But Minnesota, Jacksonville.
Minnesota
road.
I'm at 3.3. What's your total for Rams Dolphins?
Ramley.
Monday night in LA.
I'm higher than market. Nope, I'm right on 49. 49ish.
Houston, Detroit already got
you can make
corrected.
a case for that over just because of how good Tua did finally look. Jets.
Talk to me about Houston. Talk to me about Houston plus the points.
Can't do it the way their offense looks right now.
Even if you get the good news on Nico.
If Nico plays, probably adjusts down to like. It's crazy. He'd be worth something to come off the 3, but he does matter so much in this offense. You think he'd get bet down a point?
Houston extra rest. Detroit off of a big time divisional game.
And second straight week on the road.
Yeah. Bad travel for them.
Yeah, it's debatable. If there's good news on Nico, I'd just play Houston straight up.
Okay.
It's kind of that's a back against the wall game. Like shit, we're gonna lose our playoff spot here.
Yeesh.
Philly, Dallas, Jesus Christ.
My numbers can't get to Giants this high in is it Munich?
It is Munich, beautiful Munich, Germany.
Beautiful this time of year. I don't actually know that. I've been there, but it was September and it was beautiful then. I'm struggling here, man.
The number I'm off the most on is Indy, betting Indy right now, but Minnesota's run defense maybe doesn't get enough credit. They really stymied Jonathan Taylor. I think
they were excellent. That's great.
I think he has a much better game at home against this Buffalo defense. I think he's going to be just fine, and he's going to help get this offense looking a little more like we thought it could look with Flacco in it.
So Thursday night's game is actually down to 6.
It's maybe an over game.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so I'm at Baltimore -8. That total is awful high, isn't it now? 53? Oh my goodness. What are you gonna do though? You wanna
I mean, the Ravens should get. We've seen this game already this year. The Ravens had absolutely no resistance, or the Bengals had no resistance for the Ravens. I bet the Ravens in that game.
Yeah, right now I would, if I had to bet just based on my raw numbers, that are not mostly adjusted for next week yet. I would bet the Baltimore Ravens. I would bet the Carolina Panthers. I would bet the Chicago Bears -6. I would bet the Indianapolis Colts. I would take the Kansas City Chiefs. No, I would not. I would take the Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos. I was going to ask you about that. I'm on the other side of a touchdown there. I'm at 6.7.
Yeah, I'm 6.9. I would take the Broncos. I would take, depending what the number is with the Niners and where McCaffrey is, there's a chance I would take Tampa there at home.
Okay.
I would take Washington. That's probably the strongest play. And then the Philly number I shouldn't talk about with the Dak stuff yet. But that's probably right on then.
We're all in a pretty similar agreement across the board. I got to dial in a couple of numbers based on.
We were in agreement last week, and I think they all hit. So
yeah, I think they did too.
So let's just keep on cruising down the 4 lane.
Just stick to the plan.
We'll find one to argue about.
I like it. All right, man.
All right, cool. Let's
see you
call
at
it. Yeah, let's see it at halftime. I'm gonna go watch some. Is it Monday? I'm gonna go watch some meth streams. Yeah.
You and Adam Schefter, man.
God,
Can't get enough of your meth streams.
That's funny. Like they should probably get him an Amazon account, right?
I mean, is it that hard? How does he not already have it? Doesn't he order his shit from there like everybody else?
I can't imagine not having Prime around Christmas time.
Yeah, same.
All right.
How's he gonna get presents?
I wonder what he gets Rappaport. Do you think they exchange gifts?
No.
Oh, it's like some shitty gift. Like
they probably just they just